Welcome to the Artwork of You, the podcast where your life is the canvas and you are the masterpiece. I'm your host, Lori Gouhin, and together we'll explore creativity, self-awareness, mindset, goal strategy, and the importance of accountability so that you can paint your life's portrait with confidence and ease. Remember, in the gallery of life, you're not just a spectator, you are the art. So let's grab our brushes and start creating the masterpiece that is you. Hello, my friends. I am so glad that you are here with me today because today I have a special guest, Amanda Stern. Amanda has been journaling since she was an angsty teenager, and she credits her practice to helping her thrive through the divorce she didn't see coming, discover her voice, and become the person she always wanted to be. And now she empowers her clients and community to embrace journaling as a path to self-discovery, self-compassion, and self-love so they can own their worth, find success on their own terms, and write their way to a life they love. Welcome to the Artwork of You, Amanda. I am so grateful that you are here with me today.
I'm so excited to be here, Lori. Thank you for inviting me in to speak to your community.
Just for a little background to the listeners, Amanda and I met on LinkedIn, and it's quickly becoming my new favorite platform. It just seems to be a way to really genuinely connect with people on a different level than I would say Instagram or Facebook. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it is my favorite playground for sure. And I think it's because of the authenticity factor. I know you can find authentic people everywhere, and authenticity attracts authenticity. But I've really found the people that I've met on LinkedIn, the community I've built to be exactly who I think they are. I've had the joy of meeting lots of my LinkedIn friends in person, and it's always a treat when I see them and I'm like, oh, you are exactly the way you show up on LinkedIn. You are exactly the way you show up on a virtual chat. You are who you are. And I think that has been the biggest gift that LinkedIn has brought me.
Yeah, and we actually have a mutual friend that we discovered last time we spoke, my friend Emily, who is in my mastermind. And I met her on LinkedIn. In fact, I had only spoken to her once. We had a virtual coffee chat and we just really connected. And then we would connect on LinkedIn. And when I decided to form a mastermind, she was the first person I asked. Again, back to the beauty of LinkedIn.
I love that. And she is one of my favorite people. But there is magic in authenticity. There is magic in embracing who we are and the best of who we are and really working to be that version of ourselves. And for me, that is a lot of where journaling comes in my story is using my journal to learn who I am, to love who I am, and to be that authentic self everywhere I go. So whether you see me on LinkedIn or you see me at my 9 to 5 or you see me in my journaling world or you see me at the grocery store or playing frisbee or anything, you would recognize me as me. And I think that is the most comfortable way for sure for me to live my life is just be consistent, to be authentic and just get to be myself.
I absolutely agree. And you and I both have a love of journaling. In fact, when I work with clients, it's one of the non-negotiables. They have to journal every day. So tell me a little bit, how did I know you say that you started as a teenager, an angsty teenager. Can you take us back there a little bit?
Absolutely. So I was sometime in my early years of high school. I think I was a freshman in high school. And I just remember having the hardest, most terrible day. I can't tell you what happened. I'm sure in the grand scheme of things, it was nothing huge and earth-shattering. But for me, in that moment, I had all of these big feelings and I didn't know what to do with them. And none of my friends could come to the phone, and I didn't have anyone in my family I felt that would really understand and be helpful. So I picked up a notebook and a mechanical pencil and I started to write. And I wrote for a really long time. I can't tell you what I wrote about, but I can tell you when I was done, I felt better. I felt lighter. And I thought, ooh, there is something here. So I picked up my pen the next night and again the next and the next. And before I knew it, I had built this beautiful journaling practice, one that not just helped me to process what I thought and how I felt, but it really was a witness to myself that I am here, that I am living, that I matter, that the things that I do have impact. And for me as a teenager, it was really the balm that my soul needed to really affirm that I mattered. And to see it every day in my own handwriting just became such a gift. And I journaled through high school, I journaled through college, and then I got married and I had some kids, and I found that I wasn't journaling as much. And I had all of the excuses. I was busy, I was tired, there was always somebody around, there was always something more important. And that is the one regret I have in life is that not only did I miss on documenting big moments and little moments in my children's life, but I missed out on a whole lot of time getting to know myself, who I was, what I wanted, making sure I was really living this life of authenticity and alignment. And about 10 years ago, it really became evident to me how far off course I had gotten when my husband came home and surprised me with the news that he was done being married to me. And I didn't want it, I didn't see it coming. And I knew immediately I had a choice that I could spiral into negativity or I could reach out and grab hold of every good thing that came my way. And that, Lori, that is what I chose. And it started with my journal. It started with me reaching for my journal and making myself write what I was grateful for, even though I didn't feel grateful for anything in that moment. But I came up with 8 things. And I thought if I could be grateful for 8 things on this hardest day of my life, I am going to be okay. And I used my journal to write my way back to myself, to rediscover who I was, what I wanted, who I wanted to be, and then make an action plan for how to become who I wanted to be. So for me, journaling is not just a really nice thing to do if I have some time. It is a mission critical activity that helps me know myself, be more compassionate, and love myself, and really live in alignment and truth and authenticity.
Yeah, I love that. And I didn't realize that your journaling, when you went back to it, started as a gratitude practice because that's the other non-negotiable with my clients. I have them do the regular journaling, right? A brain dump or whatever's coming up for them, but they also have to do a gratitude journal every day of 10 things that they're grateful for. And I started that practice for myself back in 2009. And again, it was a challenging time back then. I don't know if you remember, the world was falling apart financially. Things were a little bit shaky. And so I started with 10 things, and I didn't care if I wrote the same 10 things every day. I'm grateful I have food. I'm grateful the lights are working. I'm grateful the sun is out. It didn't matter what it was. And it really, when you start your day with that, it just sets you up in a whole different mindset going forward. So I love that you started back with gratitude. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it is such an easy way to enter the world of journaling. And it's interesting because I've talked to so many people over the last few years about gratitude journaling, and you would be surprised at the number of people I have talked to who are really sheepish and admit, I don't get gratitude journaling. Like, I get it in theory, but it doesn't really do much for me because I find myself writing the same things every day. It becomes rote. I just go through the motions. And in chatting with people, I really developed this different way of thinking about gratitude journaling, that it's not just the act of putting words on paper, but it's
Mhm.
really giving ourselves the time and space to be able to feel our gratitude. And if we can feel our gratitude simply by making a list, amazing, wonderful, awesome. I have turned to that time and time again. But sometimes to make our practice really effective, it's helpful to go a little bit deeper. And I like
Absolutely.
to use a series of questions. What am I grateful for? Why am I grateful? And how can I show my gratitude? And I love getting to share these with people because I've seen eyes pop wide open. Oh, this is the magic here,
Yeah.
right? Because sometimes it's not just enough to think, oh, I'm grateful for my phone. I'm grateful for my phone, right? But why? I'm grateful because it allows me to keep in touch with the people I love the most. And how do I do that? Right? I do that by calling my mom, by texting my sister, by sending my brother that funny meme that I keep seeing and thinking about him every time I do, by sharing a funny video I saw with my friend, by using this device to really maintain the strength of those relationships. So by thinking through not just what am I grateful for, but how, why and how, and really take that practice out of theory and off the page and really into my life and live it has just been so impactful.
Yeah, it takes it out of the head in a way and into the heart so that you really do feel what it is that you're grateful for. I love that. And another thing that I believe that I got from you that I say to myself and I say to my clients, and I think it came from you, is that your journal isn't shaming you. Did I get that from you?
Yeah, I
Excellent.
say all the time, our journals aren't judging. I need to stop being surprised at the levels of perfectionism I hear whenever I talk to people about journaling. Every time I lead a workshop, every time I'm in a group, there's always somebody who's, I'm here to learn how to journal the right way. And I'm like, cool. So, what do you think the right way is? Right. And when we break it down, I love journaling so much because it's such a wide field. It's not just some simple thing that falls into this tiny little box that we have to make ourselves fit, that
Yeah.
we can make our journaling fit our lives. And our journaling doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be profound every day. We don't need to put pressure on ourselves to make it significant because journaling and the time we spend and the space we give ourselves, that's where the significance comes. I say all the time that by journaling on a regular basis, I'm showing the universe where I'll be when it's ready to send me the answers.
Yeah.
And for that to happen, I can't let perfectionism get in the way. So it means not judging myself for what I write, how I write it, the words I use, my sentence structure, my spelling, my handwriting. You would be amazed at how many people don't journal or feel shameful and weird about their journaling because they don't like their handwriting. How straight our margins are. Like all of these things that probably sound ridiculous as I'm saying them. I meet people every day who allow these things to be barriers to a beautiful, sustainable, helpful journaling practice. So I love to share with folks like how you journal is much less important than that you journal. So whatever feels best to you. If you want to do your journaling in a hardbound leather journal, awesome. Do it. If you want to use a pencil in a composition notebook, it's just as valid. If
Mhm.
you hate the look of your own handwriting and you want to type it, great. If you want to use voice notes, awesome. If you want to video record yourself, it all counts because journaling is just as much about the time and space we carve out for ourselves to do this reflection as it is about any kind of output. I always say I never give myself a quota. Sometimes I'll set a timer and give myself a limit, but I never expect that I'm going to write a certain amount every day. Some days I write 4 pages, some days I write 6 pages, some days I write 2 sentences or a paragraph. And each one of those entries is just as valuable because it's all about building our practice. It's all about showing up for ourselves. And we are different every day. So for me, journaling is a way to meet myself where I'm at, learn who I am today, what I need, and how am I going to make that happen for myself. And my journaling is a reflection of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you're right, it's your journal isn't judging you, which often leads to shame. And what I find, I haven't really, maybe people are feeling, as you said, about their handwriting, the margins and all the things. That didn't even really necessarily cross my mind because what I see sometimes is people are afraid that their journal is judging them more on their thoughts and what they're thinking. And in reality, what those thoughts are showing them is where the work needs to be done within themselves. Maybe their limiting beliefs or their judgments that they're having towards others or situations or their circumstances. And so they hesitate to write that stuff down because, in a way, it makes it more real. And so they avoid it. Do you find that as well?
Absolutely. The biggest concern I hear is, oh my gosh, what are people going to think if they know what I'm writing in my journal? And I always tell people, you are writing for you. You are not writing for these other people. I hope, and I say this with a large degree of privilege, acknowledging that my journaling has always been private. I've never had anyone in my life who has felt the need to read my journal. And I recognize that not everybody is in that position. I joke
Yeah.
all the time that I could leave my journal open on the kitchen counter and everyone in my family will walk right by. My
Same,
husband has
totally the same.
yeah, my husband knows he's going to hear about it anyways if it's important. And my children can't imagine I'm really that interesting. I recognize not everybody has this luxury, but also if we are allowing what other people are going to think to get in the way of what we're writing, then we are denying ourselves the privilege of having a journaling practice that's going to help us. I
Yeah.
love what you said, Lori, about it shows us where the work really is. We can learn so much about ourselves by what comes out when we're not actually writing about anything.
Yeah. And a lot of the times when I first see clients, like they're pretty much stuck in confusion and overwhelm. They're lacking clarity around so many things. And within such a short time, when they start that journaling practice, the clarity comes. And I know you said it doesn't matter how much you write, and I believe that as well, but I generally have them always write a minimum of 2 pages. And I think that comes from Julia Cameron in The Artist's Way with her morning pages. But I think a lot of times, it takes those 2 pages to gain clarity around what you're really thinking. I don't know if you've experienced that as well.
Yes, and it's definitely a yes, and there are a lot of times when I'm writing for clarity, when I do write 2, 3, 6, 42 pages, right? However much time I have, my journaling can fill it. But I find that by giving a quota to myself puts a lot of pressure. And there are some days I don't have 2 pages worth of stuff that has to come out. So I think it's finding a balance. I know that morning pages is a specific way of journaling for a specific outcome. And for folks who want those specific outcomes and it works for them, it is a absolute beautiful way to do it. But I hate to put undue pressure with a quota of any
Yeah, I
kind.
totally get that. And again, we just start out that way because generally they don't have a practice already. So
Yeah.
it's a way, I think, from my experience anyway, to get them started on that practice. And as the weeks and the months progress, it doesn't have to be 2 pages always, but just initially, because I agree, it does put a lot of pressure, especially after a while, once you've gained clarity and you're working towards specific goals or things are going pretty smoothly in your life or whatever. It's still important to do it every day, but it doesn't have to be a certain amount. So I totally agree with that.
Yeah, and there is magic in just having a place to start. For
Yeah.
so many people who hear about journaling, the big question is, how do I get started? And so having some kind of framework, and so many coaches I know, therapists I know, lots of people encourage their people or recommend to their people or make their people journal as a condition of working with them. And just having a place to get started is super, super helpful. I know a lot of people who love those structured journals you can buy. I know the 5 minute journal is the one that people always talk to me about and show me, which just a place to start to give
Yeah.
yourself some structure and a way to start and building that practice and then being able to come back and evaluate, is this giving me the results I want? I like to start with folks with, what do you want your practice to do for you? And then be able to build your practice around that to support those outcomes. And I've talked to so many people who are like, yeah, I don't know, like journaling's fine, but I don't feel like it really does anything for me. Or people who think I'm doing what the expert told me to do and it's not working, so I must be doing something wrong. There must be something wrong with me because I'm not getting these results. And so often it's a misalignment between where they want to go with their journaling, the outcomes they want to receive, and how they're going about doing it. So once we are really clear on what we're looking to do, if we are looking to get clarity on something, writing until we find that clarity is amazing.
Mhm.
But if we are looking to be more grateful, we need to have strategy that will help us get that outcome, right? We
Mhm.
would gravitate towards gratitude journaling if that's the outcome we want. But I know a dear friend of mine said to me a couple of years ago, I love how positive you are with your journaling because every time I journal, I just feel worse. And so I asked her, I was like, what are you doing? And she's like, I mostly write about the things that are going wrong and why things are going wrong. Like she's just writes her way into a spiral because
Mhm.
she didn't have the skills or the techniques to be able to get herself those outcomes she was looking for. And I think so often we find ourselves in that place of, oh, I don't know. So I'm just going to write about my problems till I find the solution. And
Mhm.
that is not always the best way to find the solution.
No, I would agree. What are your thoughts on prompts?
I love them. I love them. I use them often. I do not always use them. A prompt for anyone listening who might not know is just an idea of something to write about. It's often phrased as a question or a statement. Anything can be a prompt. I love prompts because they do a lot of things, but two things that I love in particular. I love the structure that it can give us
Mhm.
because some for a lot of us, a lot of times, coming to a blank page can be really intimidating. What do I write about? Where do I start? I don't know. I love journaling because it gives us that starting point, but it also gives us guardrails, especially when we are journaling about something that might be really hard or uncomfortable for us.
Mm.
Something that might allow us to go through that negative drain spiral that I talked about. It gives us a safe container for our thoughts. It gives our brain a job to do. So we stay focused on the job at hand and are less likely to spiral into negativity. So I think that's really important. But I think it's important when we are using journal prompts to use journal prompts that speak to us and are going to help us obtain the results we're looking for. There are lots of journals on the market with prompts pre-printed in them. And I tell my clients all the time, there's a lot of good ones out there and there's a lot of garbage ones out there. And how do you know if it's a good one or a garbage one? You take a look at it. You flip through the pages, you look at the prompts and think about, are these prompts I actually would answer? Are these prompts that are going to give me the outcomes I'm looking for? Because there's a big difference between prompts that are going to help you write a history of your life versus prompts that are going to help you do the deep inner work that we might want to do. But just being clear on what those prompts are designed to do and what it will do for us is
Yeah.
really the difference between is it a good prompt for us right now, or is it something that's better left for another situation or another person?
Yeah, I love that you're really outcomes based. And so let's, if you don't mind, talk a little bit about how you took your love of journaling and created really a business around it for yourself and helping others.
Yeah,
How
I will
that
tell
all
you, it
come
was
today.
accidentally on purpose.
Okay.
I've been journaling again since I was an angsty teenager, more or less. And even though it was very important, I never really talked about it. I didn't talk about it because I didn't really know how to talk about it. Yeah, I just didn't really know how to talk about it. Was I going to bring it up? Hi, Lori, guess what? I journaled today. And you were like, good job. Yay. And also because I thought if I journal and I knew about journaling, and it was innate and easy for me, then it clearly must be easy to everybody else.
Isn't that funny
Um,
how our gifts, we just assume everybody else knows how to do them or is good at it as well. We don't see the beauty and the validity in those gifts that we've been given.
Absolutely, because we're so close to them. It's hard to see that it's not universal.
Yeah.
So when I started showing up in LinkedIn a few years ago, I showed up because it was a place of opportunity. That's what I had heard. And at the time, I thought, oh, well, I'll show up on LinkedIn and I'll get a new job. This will be great. Instead, I learned that LinkedIn is a place of community, it is a place of learning. And I immediately found myself learning and growing so much that I just wanted something that I could put back into this community. And for me, it was journaling. And I just started out by sharing my love of journaling really as a placeholder, figuring it would buy me some time to figure out what I really could put into this learning economy. And I was so shocked, Lori, to see how deeply it resonated with people. Because again, I'd been doing it so long and it comes so naturally to me that I really did think everybody must surely know how this works. And I remember my very first LinkedIn connection call that I almost didn't take because I was pretty sure the guy was going to try to sell me something. But the first thing he said was, can you tell me everything about how you journal? Because I have never heard anyone talk about journaling the way you did.
And probably especially on LinkedIn, right? A lot of us had the perception it's just very corporate and it's really there for getting jobs. And it's so much more than that. And I bet when you came on the scene with the whole journaling, you were probably like a unicorn, right? Though nobody else was really talking about that. But it's something that's so interesting to all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what's funny, that was early in the week. The few days later, I had a LinkedIn networking call with a digital marketer in Eastern Canada. And he was like, yeah, can you just tell me more about journaling? Because I've never heard anyone talk about journaling the way you talk about journaling. The following day, I was on another call, this one for a guy in Amsterdam who works for Nike. And he was like, yeah, I have some questions about journaling because I've never heard anyone talk about journaling the way
Wow.
you talk about journaling. And I thought, thought, okay, there is something here. So I really doubled down and just, again, at the time, I was just like, what can I share to help people learn and grow? Because I am learning and growing so much from what others are sharing. And it wasn't until a few months later when I had a connection of mine reach out and leave me a voice note and say to me that she really wanted to journal. She knew she would get a lot out of it, but she couldn't make herself do it for her. But she thought she would probably do it if she was accountable to somebody else. And I was like, let's see. And so I pulled a group of people together to journal just for a week. And every day we journaled differently. And I wanted folks to understand all the different ways journaling can look like and how you can put those pieces together to build a journaling practice that's just right for you. And at the end of the week, she said to me, I can't believe all that I've accomplished this week. I thought I needed an hour, 2 hours, maybe at least a half an hour to do this work. But I see how much I've written in just this 5 minutes when you set your timer. I can do this. I have 5 minutes. And she has gone on to do so many amazing things that I can't take full credit for, but I know her journaling practice supports her in the amazing work that she's doing with her clients and the book that she's released and all of these things.
Wow, that's
And I
great.
thought, I can't stop here. There's magic in journaling, and there's magic in journaling together, which was the surprise for me. That when we get together with like-spirited people, not always like-minded, but people who are open and brave and kind and willing to do the work, we can learn faster, we can learn deeper, we can go farther together, and in the process, build these beautiful, strong relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a whole new concept to me. To me, journaling was always a personal, private thing, not something you did with a group. What made you think to do that, to not just to help her and work with her one-on-one, but to actually get a group together to journal?
Yeah, I knew that journaling groups existed. I'd seen journaling circles. I think at this point I had been to one or two, but I am a very relational person. All of the work I do is founded and grounded in relationships. I don't know how to work any other way. So for me, it was really just it was a natural fit. Let's bring a group of people together. Let's do this together. The surprise for me was how good it felt. And to see the relationships form, I love when I'm journaling with people because it's exactly what you think it is and nothing at all like you think it is. So on the surface, we gather together, usually on Zoom, though I've done some in-person sessions. I bring journal prompts, I bring my timer, I give the prompt and set the timer. And when the timer's running, we have a chance to go on our own adventure, right? Just like you would at home if you're doing it by yourself. While the timer's running, you get to explore that prompt, that topic in whatever way feels good to you. And there's no right way and there's no wrong way. It's just your way.
Mhm.
And when the timer is up, we all come back and we get the opportunity to share where we've been. Nobody's ever required to share, and no one is ever expected to read what they wrote. And also, this is where the magic happens. My friend Nikolai gave me this verbiage. He says, sharing is our currency. This is where the magic happens because we talk about things like, this prompt was really hard for me because, or, oh my gosh, I thought of this thing that I have never put these pieces together before. As I'm sharing, I'm deepening my learning and my discovery, reinforcing what I've learned. When I'm listening to you, I get to hear all kinds of new perspectives. I get to make connections I wouldn't have thought of before. And I love watching people's faces as this happens because I see the eyes light up. You can see the light bulbs go off and the gears start turning, and people pick up their pens and start scribbling and say things like, oh, that was what I was trying to say, or, oh, I hadn't thought of it that way, but now I can see. And along the way, we just build these beautiful relationships. And whether I am in a group for just an hour and that is it, or it's a long-term group, whether it's a group that starts out as complete strangers or they've known each other for years and years, we all build these new connections, these strong relationships. I have seen members of groups form a book club together. I have seen people become really strong friends. I have seen people in groups get together for professional things and podcast interviews, and just being able to build these really unexpectedly strong relationships through the community we build through journaling. It's magic is the only way I can describe it.
It sounds magical. It really does. And so, do you do just one prompt for the session? Do you do several prompts? How often does your group meet?
So we have had all kinds of iterations over the last couple of years as I try to figure out what it is I want to do, who I want to serve, how I can be the most helpful. Because again, I didn't set out to start a business. It just was a natural outgrowth of showing up and talking about this practice that I'm so passionate about. Right now, our community is meeting on a weekly basis. So we have an hour-long session once a week. Last night we met together and we only got through one prompt. Usually I come with two or three, again, depending on the size of the group or the topic or how much people have to share. But this particular topic, we were exploring music and writing about a piece of music that was significant to us and what memories it evoked.
Oh, I love that.
And I will tell you, Lori, it was probably one of my favorite sessions because we all came into the group with heavy hearts. This has been just a couple of really hard weeks for me and my life. And it seems like everyone in my group had a similar experience, even though it was different. So we all came with these very heavy hearts, very heavy spirits. And I was like, oh, maybe I should warn people that there might be tears because we just had time to think about music. And when we came back to share, we decided we would not just share what came up, but we would share the music. And it was so heartwarming, feels like it doesn't do it justice. Like it was such a balm to my spirit to be able to hear these beautiful pieces of music from all kinds of genre, from Broadway to opera to pop to rock to soul, to being able to share with music and with words what's in our hearts and what's in our spirits.
Yeah.
And it was tear jerking. It was beautiful. It was soul calming. And each of us left that session feeling lighter, feeling seen, feeling heard, feeling more hopeful and optimistic about life and the world. And oh my gosh, I have goosebumps just thinking about it. I don't know that I can convey the depth of feeling that
Yeah,
was
no, I
there
can
in this
totally
session.
imagine. And what I love about that as well is because you individually pick your own song and memories, but then when you share, I bet it's the songs that other people shared. All of a sudden, now you have all these new feelings and memories of a connection to that song if you're familiar with it as well. I love that idea. What a great, my husband's a musician. I listen to music always when I'm painting, and yeah, it's always on in our house. So I love that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I have learned in journaling with now hundreds of people, we are all more alike than we are different.
Yes.
So easy to feel isolated and alone, to feel like, oh, this thing I'm struggling with is unique to me and nobody could possibly understand my circumstances. And we are all more alike than we think. To get into a group of people who are willing to be vulnerable, willing to do the work, willing to talk about the work that we're doing. I remember this one client turned friend through journaling. The first time I met her, I was intimidated by her. I thought, wow, this woman is powerful and she's strong and she's really smart and she's got her stuff together. And what could I possibly have to offer her? And through journaling together, I was like, oh, you know what? She and I are more alike than we think. We struggle with the same things. We've had similar experiences, even though our upbringings were in completely different years and completely different places and cultures, that really we are so alike. And being able to recognize the humanity in others and ourselves at the same time, it's beautiful and magical and breathtaking.
I love that. I love that. And so before we wrap it up, is there anything else that I should have asked you that I didn't think to ask you? Anything else you would like to offer to
Hmm.
the listeners?
I would like to share that journaling is something that everybody can do. Even if it doesn't feel innate and natural to you, you can have a journaling practice. You can build one that is unique and authentic to who you are, that your practice doesn't have to look like anybody else's practice. To build a practice that supports and sustains you and gives you what you need is a gift you can give yourself. And if you need to baby step your way into a practice, that is okay. If you want to jump head first into the deep end of journaling, that's okay. If you change how you journal, if you try different things to see what fits, amazing and wonderful, because as you do, you are getting to know yourself because journaling can do so many amazing, wonderful things for us. But if I could really choose what I love most about journaling, it's how it helps us develop self-awareness, self-compassion, and self-love. Because from that place, from knowing ourselves, showing ourselves compassion and grace, and loving ourselves, we can do all things.
I completely agree with that. I feel like all change starts with self-awareness first and foremost. And so if someone's interested in possibly joining your membership, where can they find out more information about that?
Yeah, the best place to find me right now is on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn just about every day talking about journaling. Come find me, come join the conversation, drop into my DMs. Let me know you heard me on Lori's podcast. Let me know what you think. I love to support people in all kinds of ways. If you want to join my community, amazing. I would love to have you. If you just want somebody to cheer you on and give you a pep talk, I'm here for that too.
Amazing. I love that. And we'll put your link in the show notes for sure. Thank you so much for today. I really appreciated you coming here, sharing all of this information. I've gained certainly a lot of new insights about journaling, and I'm sure the listeners have as well. So thank you, Amanda.
Thank you, Lori. Really appreciate you and your time. And thank you for listening, everyone.
That's a wrap for today, my friends. Thank you for sharing your time with me. And remember to show up in your life like the masterpiece you are, because you are the artwork. Please subscribe and leave a 5-star review. Have a fabulous day.